separate statement. Okay. I'm just going to read parts of it. So, just wanted you to know I did get it.
Check 1 2, checking 1 2, test 1 2, check 1 2, 1 2, 1 2.
Good afternoon. We'll begin at this time with the Calcasieu Parish Public Briefing for Hurricane Laura recovery, response and recovery. I'm Brian Beam, Calcasieu Parish Administrator. Today is September 14th, 4 p.m. These briefings, of course, it's already happening, but you'll see different reports based on the phase we are, and we are moving more into the recovery part versus response, although that's still going on. But you'll hear a little bit of new information today based on that phase. And as always, we will start with Emergency Preparedness Director for Calcasieu, Dick Grimion, and he will highlight some of the status of evacuees that were transferred out of the area before the storm. We have an update on that and some other things. Dick?
Thank you, Brian. As usual, I'd like to start out with some safety tips. I'm wearing one of those tips today. Just remember that we're still under a situation where wearing a mask is recommended, particularly when you can't maintain that 6-foot social distancing. Also, wash your hands, cover your coughs, and maintain that social distance. We want to hit on generator safety every time that we're up here because we've had so many people die or injured from improperly using generators. Proper use of wearing protective shoes, proper use of cutting tools such as chainsaws, axes, those things, and of course the traffic situation. I'm sure Commander Pittman is going to touch on that when he comes up. I don't have any major news on pods today, but I do want to say that we're cutting the hours back in the afternoon from 6 o'clock to 3 p.m. So the pods will be generally open from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Hurricane Sally has caused a lot of shifting around with personnel, so we just don't have enough people to cover it right now. So we're going to, the pods, everything at the pods will still be available. It'll just be less hours in the afternoon. So one thing I want to cover today, and this is sort of related to Hurricane Sally also. The transportation we've been running to New Orleans had to be discontinued because of the threat of the hurricane threat in the New Orleans area. Now people who are evacuating from here will be brought to the mega shelter in Alexandria. They may or may not be sent to another location after that. Those buses, the procedure will still be the same. We'll have paratransit buses to pick people up who want to evacuate. Now, one major change that we're going to make is we're going to start having people who are in New Orleans, primarily in the hotels, talk to caseworkers about the feasibility of them coming back to their homes if that home is in such shape that they could live in it. A lot of the people there have not been able to come back and view their property or where they live. So what's going to happen is a caseworker is going to talk to each individual. The individual will give us a 48-hour notice that they would like to go back to their home. We will have a caseworker sit down with them. The fire marshal's office, Red Cross have done extensive work on documenting each structure on whether they're safe to return to. So the photos, the general condition of the dwelling will be discussed with the person, and then that person will decide whether there is feasible for them to go home. We will not make a recommendation that they return if their home is too damaged to return to at this point. The reverse situation will be the same. When they come back here, we'll have our transit buses available, and we'll transport the persons who do not have transportation out to their home location. And there may be more news to follow on that, but that's what I have for you for today. You want to wait till the end for questions? Any questions?
Could you clarify what you meant about transferring the people to their home location? I was not sure if you meant their actual residence or northward, like to Alexandria?
No, if the person goes through the counseling process and they're able to return to their home, when they get here, if they don't have a ride, we'll provide transportation out to their home location. But I just want to reiterate on this, however, this does not mean that living in Lake Charles right now is a pleasant experience, particularly if your location does not have electricity. Power has come back on in a lot of areas, but there are still major portions of Calcasieu Parish that do not have electrical power. It's hot here, services are limited, so just think long and hard before you make that commitment to come back. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dick. We'll next hear from law enforcement, Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Office Commander Gene Pittman.
Good afternoon. So I would say, much like Friday, the word is steady, and actually, I would say a slight downtick in pretty much all categories across the parish. I'll hit the totals from the weekend for all the other agencies, go into the sheriff's office, and then speak for a moment about how we're kind of going to revamp, not our mission, but how we're going to handle some potential manpower issues and not skip a beat. So Lake Charles Police Department weekend totals: 4 arrests, 185 traffic stops, 2 looting arrests, 2 for looting, 2 for drugs, 1 for curfew, a stop, and then recovered stolen property, 1. DeQuincy PD, 23 curfew stops. McNeese PD, 2 traffic stops, 1 theft report, 7 curfew violations, or stops for curfew violation, and then Highway PD, 12 stops for curfew violation. Booking numbers for the last 24 hours, 9 total. Between CPSO and LCPD. 1 of those for, 5 of those for looting between the 2 agencies. So generally speaking, the Sheriff's Office calls for service ticked downward for the first time in probably a week to 10 days. Total calls for service were under 700, so we're in the 600s. Report calls ticked down in the teens for the first time in probably 10 days, just slightly at 19. So, again, not a major shift, and I would imagine that we would have upticks and but the trend, I would say, as power comes on, is likely going to be downward in all categories, and that's a good thing. So the plan moving forward for the Sheriff's Office, obviously, due to Sally, we've had some of the agencies that were here helping us, particularly from the Southeast Louisiana region, needed to return home to take care of their citizens and their department. But we still have a pretty large contingency from the Sheriff's Association from other parts of the state. Still have 30 some odd from the Louisiana State Police here assisting us. And now what we're doing is shifting some folks as our missions change. We're shifting some folks from the Sheriff's Office that normally have other duties and have performed other duties during the storm. Obviously, as power comes on, some of the need for static security in some locations is not as great. We don't have inmates right now, so some of those folks who are post-certified can be used. So we're going to be able to shift, and the manpower will remain the same. We'll just have a larger contingency of Sheriff's Office personnel out there on the streets, still doing crime prevention, still primarily at night, still primarily addressing the curfew. It seems to be working so far, so we're going to keep doing what we're doing until we have a much larger portion of the parish with power. So that is the plan moving forward. Again, as Dick mentioned, traffic, please pay attention. As we move about, the power workers need to do their job. And that's what all of us want. That helps everybody. The sooner we get power on, that's going to help us in public safety, helps everybody. So that would be the message for today. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, we'll go next to utilities, and I do want to read from some statements from the different companies who have provided them. We'll start with electricity or power restoration. From Entergy, the latest report from Margaret Harris, customer service manager, is that power has been made available to about 45% of their customers in the parishes of Calcasieu and Cameron. Just for reference, last Friday, just a few days ago, that number was closer to 25 or 30%, so a lot of increase there, and of course that continues. Entergy expects to restore power to the majority of Calcasieu and Cameron customers affected by Hurricane Laura by September 23rd, and restore the remaining customers who can safely receive power by September 30th. So that's new information. Again, Entergy expects to restore power to majority of their customers here in Calcasieu and also Cameron by September 23rd, and restore the remaining customers who can safely receive power, which is important, by September 30th. Also, they want to mention they do have a customer information center, which is open between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. on 2150 Opelousas Street in Lake Charles, and that people can get information directly from there if they want to physically visit that site. Just a little information from Beauregard Electric. They have in Calcasieu about 12,400 members, they call them, as part of their co-op. Right now, the power restoration percentage is about 17%, which obviously is low, but it's increased. A lot of their power is required to come from other providers into their system, so it's interdependent between electrical providers. But that's the current status from Beauregard Electric. And most of those customers, of course, are in the northern part of the parish. We have a report today from Suddenlink, who is the internet provider for much of Calcasieu Parish, I think primarily in the Lake Charles and Sulphur areas, but other areas as well. And I'm going to read some of the update from them. This is from Johnny Moyer, M-O-Y-E-R, Government Affairs Director for Suddenlink, and this is dated today. They have completed the assessment of more than 90% of the market, they call it, which this is primarily in Calcasieu Parish, of course. Much of the company's telecommunications infrastructure was damaged or destroyed and needs to be rebuilt. So that sounds similar to what you're hearing from the power companies, and I guess for obvious reasons, because they have to utilize a lot of the same grid, if you will, as far as the infrastructure. They are working closely with those power companies because it's important to know when they are putting up their infrastructure and repairing it, and they sort of follow along, I think is the way they put it. And that has to do primarily with internet access. Obviously, they're a cable provider as well, but so many, not just individual residences, but businesses, the school system, and others depend on the internet fiber system getting to them. So this is very critical. We will remain in touch with them very regularly. And I do want to mention, for anybody who wants to ask about their service provision through Suddenlink, can call the number 877-794-2724. Again, this is for Suddenlink customers in Calcasieu, 877-794-2724. That is, those are all the reports from the various utilities that we are in contact with, and certainly either by statements or in person, we'll get updates from them at our next briefing or before if there's significant news. We want to move to our individual assistance updates, and we would like to hear from FEMA, as we do each time, and that is Mr. Keith Jones. Keith?
Thank you, sir. Let's start off by the numbers. We had 492 registrations to bring the total number of registrations here in Calcasieu up to 854. So far, FEMA has paid $71.4 million toward individual housing. Home safety. We'd like to say that every day we're working with your local officials here in Calcasieu and throughout the entire region. We were consulted on the plans Mr. Gremion talked about earlier, and they have our full support. Please be safe when you're coming back to look at your places. Walk carefully around the outside of your home and your property. Check for loose power lines, gas leaks, structural damage, but follow the plans that your local officials are putting in place. If you have any doubts about your home safety, have your residence inspected by a qualified building inspector or structural engineer before entering. If you smell gas or floodwater remains around the building, please do not enter. Once again, we encourage you to not leave your place of shelter until you know that you have another place to stay. And if you're looking for more information on that, you can go to ready.gov/returning.home. And we'll have that information on the Calcasieu Parish Facebook page, as well as our FEMA pages that I'll get to in a minute. Some deadlines to cover. We would like to reiterate, there's 1 week left to sign up for the Blue Roof program from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That deadline is September 21st. The project provides homeowners with a free contractor-installed cover to damaged roofs for until permanent repairs are made. To sign up for the Blue Roof program, you can go to the sign-up center in Lake Charles, or you can call 1-888-ROOF-BLUE, or visit the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers website at army.mil/Blue Roof. Another deadline is for the disaster unemployment assistance, and that is October 2nd. So that's also fastly approaching. It's available to businesses and residents whose employment or their self-employment was lost or interrupted as a direct result of Hurricane Laura. You can apply online for that at laworks.net, or you can call 866-783-5567. And then back to more FEMA information. The deadline to file for FEMA individual assistance is October 27th, but please do not wait. When you first file or register for FEMA assistance, that is only the beginning. You are not done. You still have to give them verify your identity. You have to give them documentation, and you have to complete some other processes. To start filing or to check on your registration, you can go online to disasterassistance.gov. You can call the 800 number at 800-621-FEMA, which is also 800-621-3362. Or you can also go to a drive-through disaster recovery center like the one by the Calcasieu Parish School Board at 3310 Broad Street. Like I said, the registration only starts with a phone call, and if you get an initial denial of eligibility, it's only temporary until all documentation is finished. Also on that, as was talked about earlier, many of the people that need to be hearing this information aren't able to get to the Broad Street site. They may be in New Orleans, they may be in Texas, they may be scattered in homes and friends and family all throughout the state. So if you go to FEMA.gov/disaster/4559, all the FEMA information you can ask for is right there. And there's also sites on there that show you where all of our MRICs are, which are our mobile registration intake centers that are scattered all throughout the 5 parishes here, but also all throughout the state. So if you can't get some help from your phone call or you need further assistance, you can go to any of those sites throughout the state and get your registration regardless of where you're at. Are there any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
Are there any public computers where people who do not have internet service can go, and including people who perhaps are just not computer savvy and wouldn't have the internet during normal times? Is there any public place that they can go and receive assistance via computer and a live human being?
So these mobile registration intake centers, and I know this isn't going to exactly answer your question because I'm going to tell you where to go to get that information. The Calcasieu Parish Police Jury Facebook page, we're updating on that. We have 14 mobile registration intake centers just in the 5 parishes here that are going to be going back online Wednesday. There's many of them that are still open today. We're opening 8 more on Wednesday, and we're going to get that information out there. But that's just the 5 parishes here, Calcasieu and the surrounding parishes. There's others in other areas of the state in the Branch Region 4, Branch Region 6. So there's other stand-up places, but I don't have a list of them right in front of me right now. But right here in Calcasieu, Cameron, Beauregard, Jefferson Davis, and Allen parishes, we're going to have 14 of those walk-up locations. And if you're in a town, you should be able to get word of mouth exactly where it is. But we're also loading them on the individual parishes' police jury Facebook pages. Anything else? And as always, everybody, especially with the storm coming, with the debris out there, we don't know what we're going to get in this area. But be safe and take care of yourself. Thank you. Sir?
Teresa, one other point. For those that are out of the area, you're asking about the computer assistance. Any parish I know in this state, library system is a great place to go, like it is here when ours are open. And they can use it free of charge and go to the site or to, as he said, the Facebook page for the parish. Next, we'll hear from the Red Cross, and today we have Adam Whitaker.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I have a statement that I'd like to go over, which will touch on several things that include updates of past information that's been refreshed, as well as some new information which will be pertinent particularly to residents of Calcasieu Parish. In the aftermath of Hurricane Laura, the American Red Cross has worked closely with partners to support emergency housing efforts and provide food, water, relief supplies, emotional support, and health services to people in need. Those services, we're committed to those services continuing and being ongoing while need remains. Thanks to our generous donors, the Red Cross is now starting a new effort to get emergency financial assistance into the hands of Louisiana and Texas residents whose homes were severely impacted by Hurricane Laura. This financial assistance will allow people to make their own decisions and prioritize what their family needs most to start recovering. Funds can help families replace clothes or food, offset transportation costs, or support any other immediate need. Spending these funds locally, I would emphasize as well, will also support local communities as they begin what unfortunately can be the long process of recovery. Under the category of eligibility, the Red Cross is providing $450 to households whose homes were confirmed to have been destroyed or sustained major damage from Hurricane Laura. To be eligible for immediate financial assistance, households must meet all of the following requirements. Applicants' pre-disaster primary residence is located in the confirmed disaster-impacted geographic area. Applicant is head of household and is not listed as head of household member on any other Red Cross assistance application. Applicant's primary residence suffered major damage or was destroyed. And applicant's identity and proof of residence details can be verified. Under the category of enrollment, the majority of households will receive an invitation to complete an application through an email, text message, or phone call directly from the Red Cross over the next several weeks. As this process can be slow, we are grateful in advance for everyone's patience as we work quickly and work fast to get to everyone who's impacted and who qualifies. This includes people who may face barriers to accessing disaster assistance, such as people who do not speak English, are not American citizens, or have difficulty accessing services. In these instances, applicants will be invited to apply over the phone with a Red Cross worker once an enrollment period is announced, which is happening now. It does not have an anticipated end date. It will go until we reach everyone to the best of our ability. After a household's application is approved, Red Cross immediate financial assistance will be delivered through one of several electronic fund transfer methods, ETFs. EFTs rather, excuse me. All Red Cross services, including financial assistance, are available to individuals regardless of nationality, race, sexual orientation, or religious beliefs, class, or political opinions. The Red Cross is a charity, not a government agency, and people do not need to be American citizens to receive our help. Red Cross financial assistance is not a loan and does not need to be repaid. With that statement concluded, I want to, on behalf of the Red Cross, underscore the importance of those safety recommendations which have been offered by the parish leadership, your city leadership, FEMA, and other agencies. We strongly advise that all of these safety factors be adhered to strictly in the interest of course, as ought to be obvious, but I'll state it anyways, the safety and well-being of everyone who lives here. I'm from Utah, and I'm glad for new neighbors and friends in Louisiana. I was here last year, just west of here during Imelda, and I had a great opportunity to see a lot of great folks coming in from out of town, of course, but it's frankly inspiring to see leaders locally, and then beyond the leaders locally, people locally rallying and really making things happen. So that is the update and a quick editorial expression of gratitude to be among great people. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. We appreciate all the help from Red Cross, and it does help to hear from others who are here working or visiting to hear their thoughts, and it means a lot. We appreciate that. I want to read a short message from Police Jury President Tony Gilry, sort of in the same category. Some hot meals will be served. A couple of announcements. One tomorrow down in Cameron at St. Mary Church, 12 to 2 p.m. And then this Thursday, United Way will be serving meals at the old Kroger parking lot on 12th Street, same period. So passing that on from President Gilry. We'll next hear from Mayor Nick Hunter of Lake Charles.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. We've been mentioning a lot about safety with generators and carbon monoxide poisoning. I want to thank the State Fire Marshal for being an amazing partner throughout this event. Just last week, through the State Fire Marshal, our fire department was able to get a hold of several hundred carbon monoxide detectors. And I want the public to know that those have been passed out throughout the neighborhoods. We have had deaths from carbon monoxide poisoning, but we have also had some very close calls. And our fire department has been responding to those calls, and those carbon monoxide detectors are now available if a family is in need of that. So I think that's a very good thing. Also want to thank the State Fire Marshal for placing yard signs throughout the city. You've probably seen some that show the cautions of using generators. I was a little late to this press briefing. I apologize. I don't know if Mr. Stoller was going to speak on some issues regarding hotels and that those would be ongoing. Okay, he did. Okay. Well, I just want to reaffirm that we've been getting a lot of questions about that. And there is no cancellation of FEMA benefits for people that are utilizing a FEMA hotel or a shelter. And I think that's very important, and I'm glad that FEMA mentioned that, and we want to reaffirm that as local officials, because we do not want to see, especially right now with the way the Atlantic looks and right in the middle of hurricane season, we do not want to see people getting kicked out of hotels that are provided by FEMA, and that is something that we've been very adamant about, and FEMA has heard that message, and we appreciate that. I want to reaffirm also that the city owns our water system. We also own our sewer system, and we provide trash pickup via city employees. I mention those services because we have been able, I believe literally through miracles of our city employees, to get those services back up and running citywide. I'm very proud of the work of city employees. One thing that we do not own is our electric utility. And I want to make that very clear that we've had a lot of communication with Entergy, but the city does not own Entergy. We do not own our electric utility system. The message has been very clear that we have communicated to Entergy, and it is that we want every citizen of this city to be hooked up back to power as soon as is humanly possible. But I do not want any member of the public to think that somehow the mayor of the city of Lake Charles and the CEO of Entergy have gotten together and decided which portions of the city get turned on before others. And so our message with Entergy has been very clear and very concise, and it will continue to be the same message. Get people turned on as quickly as humanly possible. Also, they have obviously had a focus on some of those essential services, and I still do believe that Entergy has done some amazing work. And when you look at where we are today, 2.5 weeks out from one of the most powerful storms to hit the United States of America, I do believe that we are making some serious strides. I did not believe that we would be where we are today a couple days out from the storm. And I believe we have even superseded some of the efforts from Rita in getting certain areas back online with power. And when you look at the effects of Laura and the amount of down power lines, I want to remind people this was not repairing a system. This was almost rebuilding an electrical grid from scratch. And the fact that they were able to do that in 2.5 weeks is almost amazing. So I want to make sure that people understand that message. As I mentioned, our water and sewer systems that we do control, I want to remind people right now, please conserve water. Don't wash your cars right now. Don't use your sprinkler systems. We are trying to conserve water for the city of Lake Charles. Our permitting department is working. They have received a lot of inquiries about necessary permits. MyPermitNow.org is available, and people can log on to that, or they can call 491-1294 if they have any questions regarding permitting. And lastly, I want to remind people that our Mayor's Action Line is up and running, and we are able to take any inquiries or any questions from the public. That's open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5, and that number is 491-1346. And that's my report, and if there are any questions, I'll take them at this time.
I was wondering if you know anything about a meeting supposedly the legislators had with Suddenlink, whether you're privy to what was discussed there and whether you have anything to say or any opinion about, the situation with regard to Suddenlink working to restore their services in the area, because we've been told that there are some businesses that are in a very bad way because they don't have internet service.
I was not on that call. A member of my staff was on that call. We have not been overly impressed with Suddenlink, and that was honestly before the storm, and I don't mind saying that. I have had more complaints about Suddenlink than any other utility we have in the city of Lake Charles.
So do you think that the concerns are resulting in them, increasing what they're doing? I mean, are they doing anything this week that they weren't doing last week? Is there any hope to get any fast relief from them?
Well, certainly if they're watching this press briefing and they heard what I just said, hopefully those efforts are stepped up. But I have not directly communicated with anyone from Suddenlink. We had some communications with Suddenlink about some disappointment in service even before the storm. And so I thank our delegation for furthering that conversation. And I expect that there's a lot of eyes and a lot of attention on Suddenlink's response over the next few days. Certainly would hope that they put together a more robust response. Thank you, Teresa.
That concludes our speakers for today's briefing. Unless there are any general questions, we will wrap this up today. Our next briefing is scheduled for Wednesday, September 16th, I guess, at 4 p.m. Thank you.